All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to All In on Real Estate. My name is Aaron Goins. I started this meetup because when I was in the military, no one in my circles talked about real estate. A lot of times we talked about debt and other finances, but nobody talked about real estate. And I want to have a meetup where people can learn about real estate and build generational wealth for them and their families. I am so excited. This is the last meetup of the year. It's been quite a journey, and I'm really excited for my guest speaker, who has helped me out tremendously. We're working together. And Chonetell, welcome to All In on Real Estate. And introduce yourself, everybody.
So I'm Chonetell. Mind my voice, I have a bit of a cold. So I'm Chonetell, and I am a brand social media consultant manager. So what I do is I help people build their brands, basically, and use social media to have more of a purpose, to get something in return from those. So I'm from Toronto, Canada. I work a lot with multifamily investors, real estate agents, fitness. Those are my little niches. I decided to niche my business down so I could be better at it. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, so how have you helped out? You have some big time clients, including myself. How have you helped out? What have you done to really enhance people's brands? Because marketing is so important, especially in this era, more than ever.
So the one thing that we like to focus on, and I think, when building our brand, or when people hear about me being a social media manager or consultant, they just kind of think of social media, like as in LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, all those social media platforms, when there's so much more to what we do than just those platforms. So how we help people is, we help people get people off of these platforms and into our funnels, right? To build that trust in those relationships and then not have so much competition, because we all have social media. We're constantly scrolling. We're competing with people pointing, birthday parties, cute dogs, cute babies. So it's hard to really get our message across. But if we can get those people off of those platforms into our funnels, where we have less competition, and more of a point, and they're looking for us, right? Like they signed up for our newsletter, they sign up for our deal alerts because they want to know, and there's no competition going through the scroll.
So how did you get started with this? Why did you get started with it, and why you don't like social media?
So those are two very good questions, and both of them have funny answers. So about 4 years ago, my son was in grade 7. And so, as you know, my son plays high-level basketball, and my husband is a high-level coach. So one of my son's friends were like, hey, your dad should do social media. My coach has social media, Instagram. Your dad should put his training and stuff on social media. So my husband was like, I have no idea about social media. Can you figure this out? So what I did is I started posting these things for my husband, and his social media started to grow. And then we got, I don't know if you're basketball, but we got Rod Fedor. We got a lot of basketball people, NBA coaches and stuff following him. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's a lot to this than just what we think of, family and friends. So anyhow, we grew his Instagram, and then our basketball club was like, hey, Chonetell, you know what? We want you on our marketing team. So then I started doing their marketing and their Instagram and their social media. And then I realized that I could get all those people to follow us. But what was I getting out of it? I was getting all these followers, but I was really getting nothing in return. So then I started getting all of our clients, or all of our, kids or whatever, off of our social media onto our website to sign up for our training. And then that's when the club really blew up. And then from that, there was a lot of people in our club was like, hey, who does your social media? So then I got into small businesses within the GTA. So I started doing a lot of small businesses. And then it wasn't until one of our members was transitioning from her marketing team to another one. So she had asked me to take care of her Instagram and her social media. So I did that for about 2 months. And when I did that, it just blew up. So she was on a podcast of Abel Pacheco's. And Abel was like, hey, I noticed your social just kind of blew up. Who's doing it? And then she gave Abel my name. And then from there, I started working with Abel, and then Abel's Instagram or his funnel started going and he started recommending me. And then I really just got into, some high-end clients in this multifamily investment community. And then like being a teacher, because that's what I was before, is I really knew how to research things, right? So I really knew the power of, researching things on how to be better, how to build these funnels, how to get investors, what I can and cannot post. And really that's how it all got started. So then I started building up these, not courses, but these like I'm trying to think of the word. I just came up with this sorry, my head's foggy, just this strategy, I guess, of how to get people off social media and into our investment or email list. And then that's really how I became successful. I started breaking things down. And so, like I said before, we have a lot of investors, real estate agents, and then fitness people. And our goal is always, always to get people off of the platforms and into our funnel, whether that's our email list or investment list or something. But I always tell people, if we're just keeping people on social media, then we are working for social media. The goal for Instagram, LinkedIn, and all of these platforms is for us to do the work to keep people on, right? And that's not what we want to be doing. We want these platforms to work for us. And then once they work for you, that's really when you start making an income off.
So true, so true. You guys don't know how many great conversations me have heard in the last couple of weeks. It's just been outstanding. I learned a lot from her. What and this is a theme that we talked about yesterday in the clubhouse room yesterday. What have you learned from 2021? And what is your goals in 2022?
So 2021 is I've learned from getting a lot of clients and something is not comparing to other people like successes or whatever, especially on social media. And I've learned to, really make that clear to my clients, because I think what ends up happening is a lot of people will work with us. And then they're like, well, this person has 10,000 followers, or this person has 100,000 followers, and I want to be like them. And then I really had to break it down to tell people, one, how to, notice if someone buys followers, or if someone is not organic, or if they're not genuine, right? And no matter what we do, that's fine if you're, if you just want to be an influencer and you want to have a bunch of followers and, people just look at you and think you're famous. We don't want to almost be famous, right? When it comes to investing, because if we buy followers and we're willing to spend or to lie about something so simple, do you really think people are going to want to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars with us? So we have to be honest, and we have to get the right people following us, because I'd rather have 200 people following my clients that are going to invest in their services than 10,000 people that are just going to want them to point and dance and have us entertaining them. So really knowing what it is you want from these platforms and being realistic with it. Because if you're just looking for followers, we can get you that. We could go follow for follow, go in an engagement group, get you tons of followers, but they're not going to invest with you. They're not going to buy your products. They're not going to buy your service. They're not going to sign up for your courses. So that's kind of pointless. So you really have to understand that sometimes less is more, right? Because I don't want to have 10,000 followers that I'm going to have to filter through to figure out what ones are going to hold value from me, right? So that was the first thing. The biggest thing that I learned last year was explaining that to my clients and explaining that, yes, we're not going to get, big followings, but I can guarantee you that the people that are following you are going to want to invest with you, whether that's invest with you their money, invest with you their time, coming to your meetups, learning from you, and getting value from you. Those are the kind of people we want following us. So I think before, I wasn't making that clear. And I think people were just coming and expecting us to get, 10 or, thousands of followers. And that's just not realistic to have a successful goal when it comes to investing. I hope that makes sense.
It does.
And your next question was for 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So for 20, and another thing that I have learned is because I was a teacher. So before this, like I said, 4 years ago, I started this. It was like kind of like a fun hustle. Now it's just a hustle. It was a side hustle. Now it's just a hustle, I feel. Um, so anyways, I was doing this and then I went on mat leave. So when in Canada, we get 18 months. So when I was on mat leave, I was really able to grow my business. And then I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back to work, but then COVID hit, and I was able to get a job teaching online. So between that, teaching online, I was able, because I didn't have to do duties and, prep and all that other stuff. I was at home. I had more time to focus on my business. So the one thing that I've learned is how fun and great it is to be your own boss, right? To have control over, my life and the whole value. So for me, for 2022, is I have 3 girls that work for me, and my goal is to get one of them to quit their job and become their own boss. Not work for me, but to teach them what I do and to take on their own clients. Because I always tell people there is enough room for us all to grow. And I'm a strong believer that if I can grow my community up, when I'm at the rooftop, I have all of them shouting with me. If I just put myself up, I'm just shouting to them below, right? So that is my goal for 2022, is to make one of my girls be full-time and doing what I'm doing and know the importance of being your own boss. Whether that's social media, I have one that does blogs and does blogs and articles for us, like you would know. That's our girl, Janine. Even if she takes that and she just, makes a business out of writing blogs and doing stuff, she doesn't have to work with me. But my goal next year is to get one of my girls to be their own boss. So if that answers your question.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, I have my
Absolutely.
cold too, guys.
Oh, no, you good. You good. You good. You good. You good. So, and Lawrence already know I'm gonna go out with this one. How powerful is branding and marketing? Because I think that I mean, you don't have to always be the person who always put yourself out there to the world. Because some people are introverts, some people are extroverts. Some extroverts they will get energized by talking to people. Some introverts will they have no energy after talking to a crowd or something like that. But how important is marketing now in this era, in this COVID social media era than maybe even 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And even us being on this Zoom just shows how important it is, right? Before, we would meet up with people, but social media really saved a lot of businesses through COVID. Because they couldn't do these, and especially investors. A lot of our investors had to go through Zoom meetups because they couldn't meet in person. So, building your brand always going to be key, because if someone doesn't know what you're doing, people have to know what you're doing, what your success is, and social media is a great way to show that. Now, there's 2 things that people always say. They're always like, well, I don't want to show off my car. I don't want to show off my success. I don't want to do that. You don't have to do that. And if you want to do that, that's okay too. Whatever works for you. You have to figure out what works for you and then run with it. If you're going to always find a following. If you want to show off your fancy car, there's always going to be people out there that want to see your fancy car, right? But if you're not that person, don't try to be. Do not try to be a fake. If you don't want to show who you are, you don't want anyone to know your face, there are lots of Instagrams that we can go on and we have no clue who that person is. You can do that too. You just have to ask yourself these questions. What can I add? What kind of value can you add to your audience? That's number one. Whether that's showing yourself and being outgoing or just giving educational posts with, just words, right? Like, doesn't have to be you. If you're afraid to get in front of the camera, don't say like, I'm not going to be able to be successful on social media, because there's lots of platforms, there are lots of people on these platforms that we have no clue who they are and they're successful on them. So really, what kind of value can I add is your number one question. And number 2 question should always be, what do I want, right? Why am I doing this? Because I can give you value, but if I'm not getting anything in return, what am I getting for my time? And it doesn't always have to be money. Some people are like, I don't want to sell. Well, we do. I mean, if depending on what you're on, if you have a product, obviously you're going to want to sell that. But sometimes it's just building up those relationships, and maybe, months down the road, that person's going to buy your product or they're going to invest with you. but we have to want something in return, whether that's a client, a future client, a relationship. Come to my Zooms. I mean, my Zooms. Come to my meetups, whatever it may be. But we want something, right? We don't want to just be giving out, because again, if we're just giving out things with nothing in return, then now we become entertainers. We work for Instagram. And yes, Instagram will pay you, but I can guarantee you, you can make more money on your own than you will ever make through Instagram. And the one thing when people are like, oh, I want to, Instagram pays you, TikTok pays you, all of these people pay you. I deal with a lot of these influencers that come to me and it's like, they're hustling for next to nothing. I had a girl that works for a makeup company and she was making $1,500. And it was so hard for her because she was constantly competing with these other makeup artists. And I'm like, why don't you just open up a makeup company and do people's makeup? Do you know what she's doing now? She has 800,000 followers and she hardly posts anymore because she's too busy doing other people's makeup, making money. And she doesn't have to compete with all those other people that are trying to compete for that sponsor. So really make sure that, I don't want to work for anyone but myself. I don't want to work for these platforms because once you work for these platforms, there's always someone behind you that you're gonna always have to try to, be in front of. If you work for yourself, it's you, right? You have more control. So keep that in mind, what it is you want, right? And make sure it's something that you want, that you have control over. And then the next question is, how are you going to get it? How am I going to get what I want? Because the one thing that people make a mistake on is they have all of these people, they have big followings, they have all these people on Instagram, but they're not sending them anywhere. They're just keeping them on the platform. They don't have a website, they don't have an email list, they don't have anything. So if one of these platforms go down, you've lost everything, right? And I think about, what was it, 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, Instagram went down. And I always tell people, I'm in the social media business, but I can tell you right now, if these platforms go down, I'm still going to have a job. I'm still going to have my clients. And the only difference is going to be is I'm going to be funneling people through a different way, whether that's email or whatever it may be. If I have to, strategize in-person things. But we have to know what it is we want and how we're going to get it. So that's having a website, having an email list. And another mistake that some people make is they have a website, but then there's nothing in there. There's no clickable. There's no sign up for my newsletter, go to my blog, sign up for my investment. There's nothing there, right? So we really have to make sure that we have these funnels to send these people in. Because if we have a strategy and a purpose on these platforms, that's when they work for us. And I think we all can think about someone we know that's working for these platforms. Like I have my son has a friend whose mom has this huge following, and she's like it can really it can really hurt a family too, because she's just trying to keep up with these followers and keep up with these videos, and she's really getting nothing in return, but it's taken away. Sometimes we forget the time that we spend on social media is taken away from something that we could be doing, to build our business or to build ourselves. Because I think we've all got lost in a TikTok where it's just like, you're like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like an hour later, it's just like, I just watched 5 cats open a box. For what, right? But that's what these platforms want. They want us to stay on them. They do not want us to get off of them. And that is a great reason why you cannot put links on Instagram. Because if I put a link on Instagram, I've now taken you off of Instagram. And that's not what they want, right? So we have to strategize, how are we getting people off of these platforms, getting them into our funnels so they can invest in our product or our services. Does it make sense?
Yes, that makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. And I think that I know people got some good questions that Eric asked you in a minute. I think it makes perfect sense because, like you just said about the cats and things like that, that's why Netflix, a lot of their shows are back to back to back. So you're not getting off of it. You got another show to watch, so, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. So, for somebody who is starting off, somebody who just starting off with, and man said, you know what, I really got to market myself. What things do they do to start off just starting off their career. So let's say they're a multifamily syndicator. What should they do to market themselves? What's the first steps they should do?
Well, the first thing that they should do is like how are they going to stand out? Like what kind of value? Again, what are they going to add to their community, right? Because what happens is that I have a lot of people that will come to me and be like, I'm starting my Instagram, and then I go on their Instagram, and it's really just a lot of family and friends, which is fine, but that's a personal Instagram. We really need to know the difference between a personal Instagram and a business Instagram. And if we're starting off and we want people to, you have to ask, do I want friends or do I want people to invest with me, right? Because it's nice, and there has to be a ratio of business and family or personal, right? So I think that's the biggest mistake that people make is they just start on these platforms and they use them like we did like 10 years ago. They think it's like, oh, it's just for my family and friends. There's no investors on these. I'm just gonna post, like me golfing, my kids at Christmas time, out for dinner with my parents. Well, that gets old, and people who don't know you don't want to see that, right? So we really have to make sure that we're having a good ratio of what we want, because we have to take advantage of when people do see us and we have all of these investors. When they do see us, what is it that they're going to see? Is it going to see that I have a deal opportunity, or do I want them to see my dog? Right? I probably want them to see the deal opportunity. But there is a strategy to that, because before I post something, I may post my cute dog because I'll get a lot of likes and comments on my cute dog. And then the next time I post something, that deal opportunity, that's probably going to show up on the top of their feed because it just told the algorithm, well, wait, they liked his last post. They're probably going to like this one too. So there is a lot of strategy on what you're going to post and when you're going to post, but we really have to know the difference between a business and a personal page. And then how are we going to stand out? What I like to do is I like to stand out by colors. I like to have my clients use 3 types of colors. And then we make templates and we make them kind of stand out like ads. So then when people are scrolling through, they're going to know that this is Erin's because of those blues and those grays. So when they scroll through, because we're scrolling through real fast, right? Sometimes people don't have time to look at the names. So they're going to know that this is my content because I branded it to myself.
Makes a lot of sense. Make a lot of sense. I got one more question. Well, 2 questions. One is a fun one. One is a serious one. So let's start with the serious one first. Okay, so somebody like Robert Oregona, right? He's a lender, and there's thousands of lenders out there. He's gone to state funding. There's a lot of people in New Jersey who does funding. What could he do to make himself stand out? So they say, you know what, man, I'm gonna go to that guy Robert Oregona instead of going to company B or C or D.
So when it comes to something like that, whenever someone has a lot of competition, I always say educate people. Educate people on, what it is as a lender. Like these are the mistakes that you make, right? These are the things that you need to have in a row before you come to me. So if you want to get, whatever amount of money, these are the things that you have to, you have to have this credit score or whatever it may be. I don't really know about the lending stuff, but you want to educate people to kind of know what it is that you do and that you're good at what you do. So I always say if there's a lot of competition, try to use that educational content. And then the more you educate people and you invite them to ask you questions, like, hey, if you're preparing or you're looking for a lender and you need some questions, come to me, or, these are the top lenders or whatever, like you always want to open up the conversation. So have that call to action so you can build up relationships and, they trust you. So now, wait a minute, Robert just educated me on what I needed to, hit these criteria for this lending. I'm probably going to go to him. Or he told me about mistakes that, other lenders, like if you go with the wrong broker or the wrong lender, he told me what some of these mistakes may be or how to look for a good one. I don't know if that makes sense, Robert. Oh, your mic is muted.
Yes, definitely makes sense. Just educate. I'm constantly on the phone educating people that they're asking me questions and letting them know. I a lot of follow-up one-on-ones I'm having with people, just asking a lot of questions, and I'm constantly doing that.
So you know what would be good is that all of those questions, those common questions that people ask, write them down and make a post about that. Say, hey, this is the common question that I get. So now, you know, that common question, if people follow you, they're not going to call you for that question because you just answered it on your content. So take advantage of those questions that people constantly ask you. That's what I do. A lot of people ask me about hashtags or any of my posts. A lot of those are because I've had a conversation with someone and they've asked me this question. I thought, like, wait a minute, this is kind of basic knowledge for me, but it's maybe really helpful for other people. So then I will do a post on that. So when people, like, you're on the phone, but you know, not on the phone, do it in a post or even in a video, right? Like, this is the most common question that I receive. And then whatever that question is, and then answer it. And then say, you know, was this helpful? If not, if you have more questions, then here, set up a call or DM me. But take advantage of those opportunities when people asking you questions. If you think it'd be a great post that would help your community or help your audience, then write down that question and then do it in a video or, you know, on a Canva with words or something, answering that question. Because again, you're constantly answering these questions. When it comes time for a lender, people are already, they're not going to have to go and ask you these questions. They're like, I trust Robert. He's answered all of these through his social media. I'm going to go to him. And then constantly telling people to sign up for a call and giving them that easy in your bio, you know, saying like, hey, my calendar is in my bio, or go to my website, which is in my bio, and sign up for a call. Or, you know, I'm giving free whatever's, right? A free checklist, right? You could do that. You could say, hey, if you go to my website, here's my free checklist or my free ebook or something that's free. Then you can get them on the email list. And you don't have to send out a newsletter. I like to send out newsletters, for instance, for Aaron, because he's constantly having deals. So a newsletter is a great way to get those deals. But sometimes you could send out just a weekly, you know, blurb on whatever you're doing, or, you know, an article that you've read, right? And say like, hey, this is an article about lenders in New Jersey, or this is an article about, you know, lenders across the world, or whatever it may be. But you're giving them knowledge. If we're giving people, constantly giving them knowledge for free, you know, that's where you really can build the trust, right? Instead of always saying like, hey, you know, buy. You have another question?
Yeah. So I'm open up everybody in a minute. I'm gonna ask you one more question, and I got somebody I'm gonna ask first to ask because I like her background. So, all right. So, what are you going to do for New Year's? Anything exciting for New Year's for you?
For me, anything exciting for New Year's? Well, no, because as Aaron knows, my house has, well, not me, I was the only one that didn't test, but my family has tested positive for COVID. So tomorrow will be the day that they can, you know, get out and do things. But we're not going to go out in our community. So we're a big board game family. So if you ever need a board game to play, you can always DM me and I can give you a list of them. So we're going to play a board game. We're going to play like Settlers, Risk, yeah, just some games like that. So we'll just stay in and play board games.
That's cool right there. That's cool. All right, so I'm open up for questions. I'm gonna start with one person first, a former guest speaker. I like her background. She's ready for New Year's by her background. So, Alicia, please ask your question.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. Wonderful, Chonetell. You're doing just such a great job, and I'm sitting up here taking notes, like typing so fast. Thank you. So my question is what and you touched on this before, because you had mentioned before that you have three people working for you and you'd love to see them advance from there and be their own boss. And so if someone was interested in that, because I invited one of my friends, she has a marketing background, but she wants to become more independent on her own, and actually do something very similar to what you're doing. So is there opportunity to contact you, reach out to you and see how she can learn more information
Yeah.
about your training?
Yeah, for sure. So we do that as well. And there's, I don't know if some of you guys know Mark Caesar, but his wife was interested in doing the same kind of thing. And I trained her on how to do that. So if you go on his Instagram, you can kind of see some changes that she has made. But like I said, there's always room to grow. So if she goes to my Instagram, or if she sends me an email or anything like that, I can definitely tell her how I got started, because there's social media is so big now that a lot of people are looking for people to manage their accounts. So for sure, for sure.
Awesome, thank you. One more question is, so I am a real estate agent, commercial, I do commercial, and I'm also an investor. And I had this conversation with my mentor earlier, and I'm like, I have way too many emails. And quite frankly, I'm sick of checking emails, but what's the best way? Because I'd like to funnel everything through my brokerage type of real estate email, which is identified by me because I branded myself now, and be able to market and send my investment material out. How do I do that? Just by using one platform, meaning I have the Instagram business. I also have a Facebook business page, but how do I do both? Is there a way to do that?
Like how you're sending out the emails?
Out the emails and then out or postings on social media.
Okay, so there's two ways you can do that. So for the emails, are you using any email platform, or are you just sending them out yourself?
I have Pipeline.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one, but usually you can kind of categorize your emails, like so
with tags.
Oh yeah. So you can do that and send them out. You're already doing that. I'm not. Are you doing that?
Yep. Okay, so haven't started doing that yet. I do use tags, but I haven't started sending investor information from that platform.
Okay, because that's really good. And that's what I like about these platforms, is that you can really break it down. So like, okay, these are my investors, right? So I know if I have an investing deal, I'm just going to send it out to the investors, right? So I have a little guy and it's bedtime. I don't know if you guys can hear him. And then after, we might have multifamily investors or brokers, right? If I have a deal, I may not send it out to a broker, right? So, you can kind of break those down, but I'm going to send my newsletter out to everyone, right? So just like I have one client where I really break down, because they have a huge email list, where I really break down all of their emails. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, are you finding social media that it's just overwhelming and you're finding it too much to do? Is that the question?
It's more of, I don't want to start another page just for investing. I want to use the business page that I already have.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you're familiar with TJ, but if you go on TJ's account, she is a great one.
Jones.
Yes, she is. She's a great one who is cross promoting, right? So you just want to cross promote. So she does her Airbnb, she does her fun, questions or I'm sorry, I'm just like trying to think, A, B, or C surveys. But then she also has her deal opportunities, right? So she's cross promoting her Airbnbs where people can stay. These are my my references from people that stayed there. And then she also has her deal options. So the investment part of it, and then the Airbnb part of it, right? So she's cross promoting. So you can cross promote. You just have to really be kind of sneaky on how you do that and have a strategy. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you so much.
I'm just make sure I'm answering the question properly.
Yes. Thank you. That's it for me, Aaron.
Okay. All right. Next, you want to go, Robert? I know we got you in the conversation. You want to go? You got a question for? Another question for?
No, sorry, I joined a couple minutes late, so no questions for me right now, but thank you.
Oh, sorry, Robert. Yeah, that was talking about Robert Oregona.
No, I I don't think I have a question for. I just have to get my social media and my CRM. I'm working on a CRM. I got a demo coming up next week with a company. I don't know if anyone heard of Thrive. So I'm doing a demo with them. So I'm going to see how that all works out, because I need to get a CRM going and get things more organized with what I'm doing.
Okay, cool. Well, the next person I got is this person is gonna be marketing themselves a lot more in 2022 than they are in 2021. Matter of fact, they got a nickname, so now they're gonna use that nickname to his benefit. So, Mr. International, go ahead.
How you doing, Shawn Hill? Chonetell, thank you very much. Great information. Robert's talking about CRM. When you do, what CRM do you use? And how did you start out with the CRM, and what did you do to start the CRM out?
So I don't use CRM.
Okay. Oh.
Why not?
Yeah, what do you, why not? What do you use?
Well, what do you mean by like a CRM? Sorry.
A customer, like a customer relationship manager. It manages all the numbers in the real estate.
Contacts.
Yeah. So I personally don't use them, but I have like clients use different ones, but I personally don't use one. So it depends on like who, like Abel Pacheco, like everyone is using different ones. For us, like what I basically do is I don't use them. I mostly like they use them, and then like I use like I'm trying to explain like how I do it. So what I do is I take it off every platform, right? So every platform is going to be different, right? So I take my insights and things like that, see how we're growing and things like I take it directly off those platforms.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Right.
I saw her send out something from Ascend. You have something from Ascend that goes out that's beautiful, Chonetell. What is that?
Like from Ascent?
Yeah, you sent out an email. You sent out an email.
Yeah, so I use like I just use it off of my website platform. So just off of Wix. And then like there's GoDaddy. Like we'll just send them directly off of those platforms.
Okay.
Is that what you mean? Sorry.
Yeah. If we just send a platform into their contact list, so they can see what's happening, say what's happening.
Yeah. So sorry. I'm sorry. I was getting lost on what it was. Yeah. So what I do is I just send out emails instead of using GoDaddy. I just send them directly off of my website.
Okay.
I use Wix off from my website.
So Wix and GoDaddy have a built-in CRM.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like I guess that would be a CRM. Yeah. So I use that off of like my website. I send out a weekly or monthly newsletter, or if I have a new blog. And then so we use SubHub. I use GoDaddy. So different clients use different platforms.
Okay.
But I guess Wix would be one. But I personally like don't use GoDaddy or anything like that. I just use the software that comes with the website platform that I use.
Okay. And now you're talking about being real, right? Being authentic, right? Now, let's say we have people who are doing these posts, right? Now, would you say that you should have these posts, do them yourself, or have somebody write posts for you?
You can do either. You can do them yourself, or you can like hire a manager to do them. There's a great website, and it's called Canva. I don't know if anyone's heard of Canva.
Yeah.
They give you templates there. You can buy templates off Ipsy. They give you templates there. You can brand them. You can pay for someone like myself that will brand you. But yeah, so you can do it yourself, or you can pay someone to do it. But definitely you want to brand yourself. But you want when people scroll down, that they kind of know that it's you. And the one thing that we want is when people go to our pages, we want them to look at it where we're clickable, right? Like they want to press that follow button. They're just looking, because we only have a couple seconds to get people in, right? So if they're only on our page for a couple seconds, what are they going to see? right? If they're going to see that we're giving out some educational stuff, that we're showing them that we're selling, that we're doing deals, that we're showing our personal side, they're going to want to click that follow button, right? But we only have a little bit of time. If we click on it and people have no idea what's going on, they're probably going to go to the next page, right? And we also do, like, I think what people fail to understand too is like, people don't necessarily, they just scroll through, right? So they see you, they like, they scroll to the next one, they like, they scroll to the next one. What we want them to do is we want them to tap to go to our page, right? That's going to be our goal too, is to get them to tap, to go to our page, to press that follow button.
Thank you. Thank you. I got one more question. Hold it.
Yeah,
It just
yeah,
came across my head.
International. Go ahead, man.
So now I'm looking to do some things this year, right? Next year. And I'm looking to have some mastermind dinners. All right. Now, when you say branding, right? Do you brand would you brand the person's name in it, or would you put everybody in and take me out of it and make it something different?
It depends on your goal, right? So
Okay.
for instance, I have one person that we're branding, but we're branding their business or organization. Why are we branding that and not them? It's because they want to sell this in the future. If I want to sell something in the future and I just make it about me, I can't sell myself, right?
Okay.
So really know what your goal is. Where I have another client where it's like, hey, we use his business name, but he's like, I'm passing this on to my children. So really, we now what he's doing is he's showing his success for people that want to, invest with him. And then we're branding the name, the last name, right? Because he can't sell himself, but he's going to pass this on to his children that are still going to have that name, right?
Okay.
Towards, if it's a business that you want to build up so you can sell in the future, you don't want to be branding it to yourself, because again, they can't buy you, right? So really keep in mind what you want to do with the name and with this platform. And again, too, is if you're going to sell this, right? You're going to sell, like, if you build up a brand or you get 300,000 followers or something, and then you go to sell this company, they're probably going to want those 300,000 followers as well, right? Okay. Now, if you build up yourself and you still kind of cross them out with your business, they can't buy your name as a brand, right? So they couldn't buy Chonetell Reaume's Instagram, but they could buy Design by Telly if I decided to sell Design by Telly. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm so bad for saying, does that make sense?
That's okay.
but yeah, so really know what it is that you want for the future with the brand that you're built. Really, right. If you want to sell it in the future, then you're going to do less of your face and more of maybe a logo or something like that, right?
Okay.
So really keep that in mind. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I guess somebody raised their hand. Somebody named TJ. I can't see that person.
He is so funny. How are you, Chonetell? I had to come because not only have you worked on my account as a professional, I don't know if you could hear me. I might be in a bad area.
No, we can hear you fine.
Okay. Yeah, you've worked on turning around my accounts and they are so aesthetically pleasing now. And we have actually just become friends. So I appreciate you and I appreciate what you bring to the table by not just talking about how to post, but actually taking the extra step and understanding the person's business. You actually go the extra mile to understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So I thank you for that. My question is, it's kind of going back to what Alicia said. I actually really identified with her, and again, as a entrepreneur running so many aspects of your own business, how can you create something that you can span across multiple channels? Do you even recommend that? Do you even recommend that for people that are just very time crunch when it comes to trying to put together the content and then get it out. Where can we get the most bang for our buck when we want to just create a single content and get it out, as many places as possible? Or do you even recommend that? Or do you recommend that we just make the time to cater to each and every one of the platforms that we would get leads from?
And I like how you say time, right? How you use that word time, because social media can be a time sucker, making all of these, posts and creating this content. So if you can cross promote, whether that's if you're using something in your post, like you have a post, but in your caption, you're cross promoting your other brand or your other service, that's the best way to do it, because you'll get so overwhelmed if we have what ends up happening is someone will be like, well, I have this yoga business, and then I have this health food business, and then I have this fitness business. And they have 3 different platforms, right? When really yoga, health, and fitness could really all go together by cross promoting, right? So I hope that makes sense. So if you could try to cross promote by using your captions, that would be the best way to do it. And then using all of those. So what was really good too is if you can always be like a week behind, right? So if you have something on Facebook, maybe you week 1, you put your Facebook post, and then the next week you share that same Facebook post, you share it on Instagram, right? So then people are not always getting the same thing twice.
Okay, I see. And thank you so much for that, especially because, I try to also manage Facebook groups, and it just gets overwhelming after a while. It just does with time. And so my next question to you is that where do you, or how do you
Sorry, before you answer that question, I just want to give you a tip on Facebook groups. I have a great Facebook group that really runs itself. And what I do is I promote my followers on that group to post. So I don't know if that's the kind of group that you have. I know some people just have Facebook groups where it's just all about them and they're sharing the knowledge. For my Facebook group, it's about children's literacy because I was a teacher. And I just really encourage people to post as much as they can. So then that way it's active and I don't always have to constantly be posting. And now it's at the point where I don't have to post at all.
That's exactly what I would like. It just doesn't go that way. And I think it's maybe something I'm structured wrong, because I'm wanting people to, post, and I don't have to do all the posting, but it's just not happening like that. I'll get with you offline because I don't want to take up all this time.
I have some ideas for that. So let's talk offline our next conversation, and we'll definitely nail that, because I have a great Facebook group that I kind of have some tips and tricks that I've learned from running that group. But what was your second question?
Okay, my next question is, and I'm gonna be honest, I have 2 more after that, and that's it, I promise. My next question is, how does someone make their material live the longest? What are some of the small things we could do to keep whatever we've created, circulating? Because we know when we use a lot of those hashtags, you could go back and look, and 30 seconds later, your post is buried under 1,000 other 1,000 other posts. What can we do to make some of our really good stuff circulate a little longer?
So what we want to do is we don't want to use really big hashtags. So in the hashtag list that I gave you, so we want to use maybe like 5 big hashtags, and then 5, large hashtags, and then medium hashtags. The smaller the hashtag that you use, the more odds you have of being on top, right? And so we have to think about where our account is. So for a small account, we want to start using smaller hashtags. If we're a big account, or if we're a small account, we're going to get lost in those big hashtags. They're going to cater more to those big accounts. So the one thing that I would do is, one, make sure you're using the right kind of hashtags when it comes to the size. So if you go to my Instagram, I just recently did a post on how we do the hashtags. I use an app, and it's called Smart Hashtags, and it really will break down the hashtags for you. So I will send you that, TJ. I believe it's called Smart Hashtags. But that's the app that I use to get the hashtags. and it will
Oh, I
bring.
love it. Thank you so
Oh, no,
much.
sorry,
Love that.
it's called hashtag smart. So
Okay,
if you
got it.
do that, and you can type in broker, and it will give you all the broker ones. So sometimes you have to go through it because sometimes it will give you like a funny one. So sometimes you do have to read through the hashtags, but it will break down those size of hashtags for you. And it's a great way to use that app to get your hashtags using different hashtags all the time. And you can save them too. You can say this is an Airbnb hashtag. This one's an investment for investment hashtag. So that's one thing to do. Another thing that you can do is if you find that one of your posts did very well, maybe a month ago, what you could do, one, if you want, you can archive that and you could redo it in a different, the same post, but just different, make it look different. Or what you can do is share that on your story. So if you had a great post, just go and just click share on the story, because you can share the same post 100 times on a story if you want. Right? So keep that in mind. But if you want to be back up on people's mind with that old post, just share it in your story.
All right. I love that. Thank you so much, because that it tremendously helped. Do you see it? Because I kind of think you just answered the next question, which is there something that you see that people consistently miss? Like that, meaning that it's the first thing you go looking at or looking for your clients, because you know that if you change this one thing, that it's going to instantly make a difference. And the reason I ask that, because in my business, the first thing I look at with clients is their price. And that's one quick thing I could change, and I know it'll change things for them overnight. So do you have something like that?
The one thing that I always, first thing I look at when I do an audit is someone's bio. I always look at their bio to because that's what's going to tell us what we're doing. So I think, and when we click on their pages, right? So when we click on their pages, what is it that we see? And that's a deal breaker. When someone goes to your name and they click on your page, and they have no idea what's going on. That's a big deal breaker for someone to want to follow. And sometimes it's so simple. And I tell people all the time, it's so simple just by using 3 colors and going on Canva and, using their templates, and it gives you the option to change those colors. So, this template is fluorescent pink and fluorescent green, and my colors are blue and gray. Well, all you have to do is change that green to blue, and that pink to gray, right? And now you just branded. So, just making sure, it's like your website. Sorry, when people go to your website, we kind of want our Instagram page to kind of look like that, look pleasing. So just think when you go to someone's page, what is it that you like? What is it that stands out for you, right? Because we're like-minded people. So we're going to attract people that are kind of like us. So think about when you go to a page, what it is that you like about that page, and then try to do that in your own page.
Oh, I love that. I didn't never think of that. Last question for all of us going into the next year. What is some of the simple KPIs you think we can set for ourselves? I heard Robert say that, hey, he has, this something he's trying to reach as far as setting up a CRM. I think it was him and Lawrence that said that. What are some of the goals you think for somebody who's not professional with social media that can set for themselves and, have something to track for us type of people that like to track and see our progress and things?
You know what I like about the insights, and I don't think that people take advantage of Instagram insights, but Instagram insights will tell you, if you go on the insights, it will tell you how many times someone clicked on your website, right? And that is always our goal. So you could go to the insights on a specific post, and it will tell you, hey, off of this post, 3 people went to your website. Right? So I think that, when we're on social media, we should take advantage of the insights and the data that these platforms give us, right? And then again, where's that funnel? So for us, for instance, for Aaron, we just sent out an email. We had, I think, 15 people hit the click button, right? So now we're asking, okay, so we had 15 people hit the book a call button. How many calls did he get between that time? Did he get any calls between that time, right? Maybe that click button is to book a call. Maybe, because it was this calendar, maybe it wasn't, the days weren't right. Like then we start asking ourselves those questions. But all of these platforms, whether it's your MailChimp or whatever, they're all giving us data that we could be using to know like how we're converting people. Does that make sense? Like,
Yes,
does that make sense?
yes,
So,
and thank you.
but we're absolutely right. And I tell people all the time is that, you know, because services like this can be a lot, right? Like, you know, to get a social media manager, to do the coaching, to do all of that stuff. And it's not something that happens overnight either. And we have to, you know, be clear on that. But, you know, it only takes one person. It only takes one investor. It only takes, you know, one real estate agent, someone to buy our house, like to pay for the services or what it is. But we need to have some kind of social presence. There's so many people that are using these platforms for their advantage, and it's free advertising, right? So, you know, even with TJ, like I try to teach TJ as much as I can on how to navigate these by herself, right? That is always our goal, is like, how am I going to navigate this myself? Because there's one, not knowing how to do it and not having the time. And, you know, not having the time or not wanting to do it are two different things, right? So we want to be able to navigate these platforms and navigate them the right way so we can get people into our services or into our contact list. So then, you know, that email list, we can constantly send something out. But if we're just going to post and look nice and not have a funnel or somewhere for someone to go, you're not going to be successful on these platforms. And I think that's what happens a lot, is that people will come to me and say, like, for instance, I had one lady, she had 15,000 followers. She said, you know, I haven't sold one single sweater. I have 15,000 followers. I was her first client to buy a sweater off of her website, right? So we went through it, and I go through her website and I'm like, well, you look like a quote page. You have these beautiful sweaters, but you always put these quotes on and you don't tell people that you're selling sweaters. So obviously you're not going to sell these sweaters. Do you know that she went in and she started putting 20% off, or, you know, buying this sweater at this? What happened? She ended up selling sweaters. Sometimes we don't tell people what we want. And I think that's the biggest mistake, is that we don't have a call to action. We should always have a call to action to what it is that we want.
Thank you. That was so good. I was going to ask you, what do you think about Aaron not wanting to be, I'm throwing Aaron under the bus, Aaron not wanting to do Clubhouse anymore. What do you think about that, Chonetell?
No, I didn't hear it.
I just ratted him out.
I did not hear that. So Clubhouse is actually one of my favorite social media platforms. And this is why, because you're live, it's your voice. And if you can hold value, there's a lot of things to be made off of that platform, right? Every time I go on Clubhouse, I always, like most of the time, I always have someone that DMs me that wants to get on a call or something for me. And it's not because if anyone's ever heard me on Clubhouse, I do not sell my services on Clubhouse. I don't say like, hey, you know, book a call, coach for me. I just give the knowledge and then people will come, right? So I think, you know, if you're good at what you do, and it's a great way to build trust, right? But you have to hold value. Yeah. So you should be doing Clubhouse. That's my thing, Aaron. You're so good at Clubhouse. Yeah. We're gonna talk about that tomorrow.
And Aaron is the reason I joined Clubhouse. I was waiting for maybe half a year for the Android phone, because it was all on that iPhone. And then it came to Android because I use Samsung, and I learned about Clubhouse through Goins.
Yes.
AG, come on now.
TJ on Clubhouse, and got a lot of knowledge from TJ. So it's all about Aaron Goins and Clubhouse.
Yes.
Thank you,
right,
TJ.
Robert.
Thank you, TJ, for spilling the beans.
Oh, he's trying to do the Queen of York on me. He's trying to do like Janelle York on me, Lawrence. Okay, I see how it is. I see how it is.
I think Aaron is great on Clubhouse. I think that, you know, the one thing that you do, and I think sometimes, you know, it's hard because the rooms are getting a lot smaller. And I think people are looking at that, but we also have to keep in mind it is the holidays, right? So, you know, back in January, you'll probably see that these rooms will get a lot bigger. I go in your rooms all the time. You consistently have the same people. So if the people are coming back for the same time every single week to listen to you speak, then that says something about your room, right? And the thing is, though, is that especially, what you're doing for military families and for veterans is a big difference, right? Like you're just not having a room on, there's a lot of crazy rooms out there, and I walk out and I'm just like, what was I just listening to, right? That is not your room. You have a lot of great, Alicia, like TJ, you have a lot of great people that come up on your stage that support you. And the fact that you have people like these ladies that are supporting you, there's a lot about yourself. So, and you're growing, and this is a great way to grow as well. So I definitely think that you should continue to do Clubhouse and be on as many of these social platforms that will benefit your niche, right? So, and that's another thing I'm going to kind of go back on is that we think that we need to be on every single platform, but we really need to be on the platform where our audience are. So if we're going to be in Clubhouse, we need to be in a Clubhouse room, 1, where we're going to give value, 2, where we're going to get value. I think sometimes I'm in a room and I'm in a mindset room and I'm like, okay, this is good, but I don't need to be in a mindset room every single day. My mind is set. I have a good mindset, right? So knowing because Clubhouse, I mean, I don't know if anyone, but there's like 1,000,001 vaccine rooms, right? Like, do I need to be in a vaccine room listening to 100 and people that are not experts argue a topic that they know nothing about, right? So those are rooms that we kind of want to stay clear of. But if the most important thing on social media, and if you walk away with anything from this conversation, is you need to give value or you need to receive value. Those are the 2 things that you need to be thinking of whenever you're scrolling through, whenever you're posting, whenever you're sitting in a Clubhouse room. What am I getting out of this? Am I giving or am I getting? And the word is value. So keep that in mind.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Chonetell.
Go, Alicia. Go, Alicia. I feel like I'm going to get piled on. Go, Alicia. I saw you raise your hand.
Yes. So 1, I agree. I got on the Clubhouse because of Aaron's Clubhouse, and I continue because of your Clubhouse. I do ignore some of the other invites because it's way too much. It's overstimulation for me, but I love that room in particular. So that's me because I love my vets. But the question that I do have for you, Chonetell, in 1, I have a statement and then a question. The statement is, you do not have to sell your business because whatever call you're on, and I've been on several, your clients sell your business for you. And that's a huge testament to what you do and the value that you bring. The second one is, do you have any recommendations or tips that you can provide for if we go on to do videos and lives? Because Betty and I know she's probably doing some other things, which is why she doesn't have her camera on, but we do a lot of things for our church, and our bishop goes live, and she's my partner on a live show that we do every Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. Shameless plug, but that's okay. Do you have any tips for us when we want to provide value? Because I think we provide a lot of value, but we want to also monetize that value so that we can utilize that, because we also want to help grow our community, help our church, and do a bunch of other stuff. So what's the best way to do that and utilize our audience?
So the one thing too is try to promote when you're going live. I don't know if you do like a flyer or something like that where you're telling people that you're going live. And the biggest mistake that people make when they go live is they don't know when their audience is most active. So if you go on your insights, it will tell you that I have this amount of people. And before you go live, it will say, you have 10 people that are on Instagram. Well, if I only have 10 people on Instagram, probably not going to go live, because what are the odds that all 10 of those people are going to want to watch my live anyways, right? So sometimes it is, paying attention to that. And even if you have to, the first couple of times, like, okay, so we went live at 6:30, we only had 10 people on, when we press that live button. Let's try next week to go at 6. So trying to play in the beginning to when your audience is on. and taking advantage of that. And if you only have 10 people on at 6:30, then maybe you could, okay, if we only have 10 people on, then let's try to cut this one a little bit shorter.
Okay.
Right? But
Yeah.
paying attention, the most important thing is though is promoting your live, right? Getting as many people as you can on your live. And you know what's funny is sometimes what I do if I know a client is on live, because I have so many, like I have an iPad and phones, like this is what I do. So I will go on live on different clients. I will go on their live because it's kind of silly, but people don't want to be the only person on your live. So, but it takes one, then two, then three. But if everyone's in and out, in and out, in and out, people don't want to stay. So sometimes it's even, getting your husband or your friends to be on that live just as those three people. So when your audience does come in, they don't feel like they're the only one, if that makes sense. So try to get as many people as you can, even your mom, have her go on your live and just, put it off to the side because those numbers make a big difference. Like they really do. How many times have we went on a live and it's like, well, I'm the only one watching this. It feels really weird. I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
Right? But if you have three people watching, then that fourth person comes in, then that fifth person comes in, and then eventually you have more people in. So try to, if you have a phone or whatever, try to go on your computer and watch the live. You can give yourself a little buffer of numbers to kind of go like that. And then obviously promoting it, the next day, like, hey, we're going to be live. We go live every single Wednesday and keep on telling people that. And if you're doing it in your parish, in your parish, tell people at church, like, hey, have you ever checked out our live?
Okay. Is there a specific length of time that's recommended?
I don't like, I think, between, I don't like to go over a half an hour for a live because it is social media. And people, like, it depends. It really depends on your audience, how many people you do have. But for the replay, not a lot of people will watch a replay that's too long. And that's where you get most of your views on, is that replay.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And again, when you're on a live, don't just go live. These are my questions. What am I going to make people like stay? Because sometimes I'll look at someone, they're on a live and they're talking about, New Year's plans or whatever, which is fine with a friend, but people don't really want to sit there that don't know you and know what you're doing for New Year's, unless you've built that audience up, right? But just have some questions and tell people like, hey, this Wednesday, I'm going to be talking about hashtag. So these are the questions I'm going to be in. So then people will want to tune in.
Awesome. Just one last question. Can you share with us how to add or click or how to convert a viewer into a sales funnel? Because I for the life of me can't figure that out on how to get that done on Instagram. I know Facebook you can do it, but
so like on Instagram, what I do like is that you can put so when you post something, you can put the link in your story. Oh, I just moved because you moved over there. So you can put the link in your story. So take advantage of that link button.
Okay.
And then take advantage of, for instance, for Aaron, what we said for our post today is like, hey, check out our meetup. That's a call to action. So have a call to action, right? So if you want to learn more, go to read my blog or sign up for my newsletter or send me a DM. Always have a call to action, whether that's even a question, right? So, if you're doing something like, do you struggle with your faith? Some people will put yes, right? So you can go in the DMs and say like, hey, I seen that you put yes, I'm here to support you. Like anything like that, like having some kind of a question, open-ended, where you can take it into the DMs.
Cool, thank you. And hi to your son, Aaron.
Yeah. We was going over a basketball schedule. He has 6 games in like the first 2 weeks of the season. Of this week. So he's very excited about that. Well, look, we're going to end the recording right now. Thank you guys so much. I just want to say just thank you. I really appreciate that. I've learned a lot over this last year. 2021 was really educational, informative for me. I'm really thankful for you guys on here. I got to meet 2 people on here personally. when I was in Atlanta, TJ, and then of course, Mr. International. So I had a pleasure meeting them. I had a great time, and I can't wait to attend a speaker's dinner series with Mr. International at some point. So that's more to come. I'll continue to push him about that. But I just want to say thank you guys. 2022 is gonna be a great year. Just keep pushing, keep grinding, and I'll see you at the top. All right, guys, take care.